Hello, everyone. Welcome from all over the world, as I'm reading in the chat. It is such an honor to be with you on this very special day. This is a 222 day. And of course, we have our 10, technically, as the year. But this is the beginning of a new cycle. That is what 222, that angel number, represents. And this is a very special day because of why we have gathered. And there are a few of you who are in different places right now regarding this gathering and what this gathering is actually opening to you, the path that is opening from this gathering. There are some of you who are fully strapped in and have no idea where we're going and are totally here for it. And there are some of you who have a little bit of trepidation and curiosity around what is happening, but also what does it all really mean. So, this opening ceremony is for us to lay the groundwork and for me to show you the door of what this mystery school is. And of course, as it is true in all areas of life and in all situations, anyone can show you the door. Someone could even open the door for you, but it is ultimately up to you if you're going to walk through that door. And if it's your time to walk through that door. So, I want to start with a phrase and many other things, a truth and a confirmation, and also a code of conduct that some of you may be familiar with. It comes from the ancient Mayan people. And it is in Lakesh, alakin. In Lakesh, alakin. It means I am another you, and you are another me. So this code of conduct and this truth that we are one another is something that has been distorted and also forgotten by much of humanity. And there is a very strong desire to remember this truth and to have this truth no longer be distorted and perverted as it has been. Not necessarily only from ill intention. There are those who have good intentions that have distorted this truth simply through misunderstanding. And I have certainly been amongst those. And I also know that my understanding of this truth has significantly shifted because of the initiations that I have been blessed with in this lifetime so far. And much of those initiations have taken place because of this beautiful community and also with many people who are here right now, whose faces I saw when we were very first starting the meeting. And that is quite an honor for me as a soul. So let me also express my deep gratitude to each of you for being part of my journey of remembering and part of my path of awakening in this lifetime. It is such a joy, and it brings my heart so much energy to feel your heart and to see your faces and to know that we are here together, walking in the dark together. And I may be a torch bearer carrying a light, but I am in the dark right alongside you. And my intention is to share the fire that I have so that we are all carrying our own torches and all of us help each other to see in the dark so that it doesn't feel so alone. So again, as I've said many times and will repeat, although I am the one sitting in this position at this time and will be in this position, speaking to you very often throughout this time in our mystery school, I want you to remember that I am simply reflecting things to you that you have either forgotten or sharing a contrasting or complementary view to a truth that is entirely yours. So, as I said, and as we know, most of humanity has forgotten this truth, in Lakesh Alakin, that I am another you and you are another me, that we are one. And in this mystery school, I am going to be working with many principles and philosophies. We are going to be working with them. And I will get there. I want to start, though, with when humanity last forgot this truth that we are all one. Some of you are familiar with this story. I know, because I've been with you when you've heard it. The story, the lesson, and the myth of Osiris, Isis, Set, and Horus. Osiris was a wise and benevolent, very loving king. And he brought agriculture and farming. He brought law, and he also brought sacred order to the land that he was governing long ago. He had a brother named Set, who is his contrasting pair, and Set embodies chaos, disorder, disruption, and eventually grew jealous of his brother and decided to overthrow him and his kingdom. Set tricked Osiris into lying inside of a beautifully crafted chest made out of a very sacred tree. He then sealed this chest, hermetically sealed this chest, and then threw the chest into the Nile so that Osiris would eventually die inside of this chest. And he did. And when Osiris died, disorder and chaos spread throughout the land. Isis, who was the wife and also sister, in a way, of Osiris, was of course quite distraught, but undertook the long devotional path with her sister Nephthys to discover the chest again, to try and find her husband. Set realized that Isis was out seeking Osiris and seeking this chest, and became very upset again, and decided to take it even farther than just leaving Osiris in the chest. He decided to gather the chest himself, hermetically unseal it, and dismember Osiris's body, cut it into many pieces. He then scattered all of these pieces around Egypt so that it would force Isis to possibly never find these pieces, or at least be on the search for them for a very long time. Because she had the help of her sister Nephthys, though, and the god Anubis, the dog-headed or jackal-headed figure, because she had their help, she was able to find all the pieces and reassemble the body back together. except for one piece that was not found. And through sacred magic, she performed the first mummification that was ever documented. With her breath, she was able to breathe life back into the body of Osiris long enough only for him to help Isis to conceive of their child, Horus, who is the falcon-headed being. Osiris, although he was alive for that time, for long enough to conceive this child, he did not return to being a king in the earthly realm, even though he had the option to. But that was not what his path called for. He instead became the king of Duat, or the underworld. So he descended into an even deeper realm and became the king of the underworld, or the Lord of the Dead, and eventually the judge of souls, alongside Anubis. So, the story goes on a little bit with Horus seeking revenge for his father, and growing up with the wisdom of Isis, and becoming strengthened by his life and by the wisdom that Isis, his mother, gives to him. And eventually he seeks revenge and essentially confronts Set, and then rightful order is restored once again to the land. So that is the myth in a summary. And that myth is a map of transformation, as all myths are. All myths show us an aspect of our inner world. They give us a map, a clue. They give us a waypoint on our journey in the dark. This is a very sacred myth because it is, again, from the last time, as in the most recent time, that humanity forgot itself and forgot the truth that we are all one. So in this context, Osiris is mistaken for a real person. But Osiris was not a person. Osiris is a concept. Osiris is the metaphorical reflection of the divine light, the divine sacred order within all of us, within each of us. We each have some type of king, queen, a ruler, our higher self, that governs and brings sacred order to our life, and that enables us to then bring sacred order to all of life. So he represents the divine essence within each person, and Set, his brother, represents the chaos of existence itself. We could also say it represents the ego. And when we allow the ego to rule our life or rule the world, we see chaos. Isis embodies unwavering devotion. Unwavering devotion, wisdom, and true love, the power of love that governs life and that is able to gather what has been, to create something into what can become through magic, devotion. The gathering and mummification in that story, in that myth, is about an inner process of integration, which is the ultimate goal, if we want to use that word. It's the ultimate goal of a psychology work and a lifetime is to be fully integrated. So something essential has been restored when Isis gathers all of these disparate pieces and brings them back into wholeness. Something essential is restored in that wholeness, but it's not in its original form. It has been transformed. And Osiris does not return to what he had been. He does not return to be a king on the earthly realm. He becomes instead the king of the underworld, a ruler of a deeper realm that is within. So now there is sacred order within. And just like this death that Osiris experienced, initiation requires a symbolic death of the old identity. And then there is the rebirth into a new level of being. So Osiris does not become king of the outer world again when he is brought back together. He becomes a master of the inner world, the deep world. This is our path. And this story is a map. So, we will be using that myth among many others, but especially that myth we will study in depth during this mystery school. And I want to let that story and those symbols sit with you and just let them sink in while I talk to you a little bit about what a mystery school is, because you may have not heard of one before. And it's important also to understand how I am perceiving a mystery school, because it could be different for different people and different guides. So in a mystery school, what it signifies is if you are part of a mystery school, that means that you have left the realm and the level of being just a philosopher, someone who, and don't get me wrong, I love philosophy and I love philosophers, but this is an important distinction. You are no longer someone who is just standing on the sidelines talking about everything, which is a wonderful skill to have the power of observation and be able to express what is happening around you. But you're now ready to leave that place of just watching things. Let me put this into modern terms with where we are right now with me behind a camera. You're no longer just sitting around watching YouTube videos. Or Gaia, I guess. That's no longer where you are. And maybe you haven't been there for some time. You are in a place where you actually want to become now. And let me be very clear. I recognize that perhaps the way I said that seems like I'm coming down on the level of philosopher. That is an absolutely necessary stage. That if that is still where you are, then please let yourself be there. I think that I've been a bit jaded when it comes to the amount of people who really just want to sit around and kind of speculate and judge from the sidelines when they're not in the arena. And I think that you all know what I mean when I say that. For someone to be standing on the sidelines and judging someone whose face is down in the mud because they have chosen to go into the arena, wow. I'm with the person whose face is covered in mud. That's where I am. And so I really want to be with, to work with, to walk alongside those who are okay getting their face muddy. That's just where I am. So, if you are in the place of the initiate, you've left philosopher, or you're at least ready to move out of philosopher into initiate, it's because you are walking the path to ultimately move into mastery. That is what we're doing. That's the idea. So, in an ancient mystery school, initiates would have the opportunity to be fully enmeshed in their studies, in their devotional practices, in their personal contemplative and reflective times, in their prayers, etc., everything that made up, in their rituals and ritual theater, in everything that made up a mystery school. They would have had the opportunity to just be solely devoted to that each and every day. Coming and going from the temple, many of them living usually in the temple, just depending on where they were and what mystery school they were a part of. So in this world, you've heard me say this before, this is a lifetime that calls on mastery, the remembrance of true sovereignty. So, it is not to be lamented that we cannot all be living together in a physical temple somewhere, going through this mystery school. Because part of our evolution is the remembrance that we are not only physical beings, we are multidimensional beings, existing in non-physical time and space. That means we are, so long as you choose to walk this path, we are actually living in a mystery school temple together. Now, let me just give a little human interjection here. When I was telling my team about all of this, I told them that this was a little crazy, that I was going to do this. Because normally in a mystery school, there would not be hundreds of us together. It would be a physical temple, which means that the space would be limited as to how many people could be in there at a given time. And that's not where our world is. When I lead sacred journeys to other lands, like Egypt or Peru, as I have, there is a limited number of people who are able to join. And I could feel that this year was not the year to do that. This is the year to open the doors. And thankfully, I have the energetic capacity to hold this quantum temple for hundreds of us. Thank God. With a lot of help and support. It is certainly not me alone, just to be very clear. I'm very grateful that I have the capacity to do this now. And that is what we are going to be doing. So although we are not living together, we actually are living together for the duration of this mystery school. That means that we are going to be sharing dream space as well. And perhaps most importantly, the piece that I want you to take with you, and remember, and I will continually remind you of this, your life is the mystery school. This is called a living mystery school for two reasons. One, because it is going to be reflective of your everyday life. Also, the second reason is because it is going to adapt and grow organically with where we are as a group, in response also to what is happening outside of this sacred temple. It's both. So there is not some set curriculum, if you will, from that we're going from point A and then there's B, C, etc. That's not what this is. Thank God I'm a Montessori teacher so that I can respond, because Montessori curriculum is also a living spiral curriculum. That's how I describe it. And that is what this is, which means I am continuously going to be responding to you all and to what's happening outside of our temple walls, in order for this to actually serve where we are as a group and what's going on in the world. But the key piece is that it is your personal life, the life that you live outside of this temple, that is a reflection of the mystery school that you are already enrolled in. Okay. So, what is initiation? For those of you who have been with me for a long time and or have been to other worlds with me, such as Peru or Egypt, you know that initiation is probably my favorite thing. You have to be a little bit of a, I think it's called a masochist when you like pain. You have to be a little bit of that to like initiation as much as I do. But it's the reason why is because it's the fire of transformation. And I absolutely love transformation. I love it. I love transforming. The sacred magic of ancient Egypt is called Heka. And the symbol for Heka is the frog, because the frog transforms. Frogs have been sacred to me since I was a child. And in fact, to this day, scientists still do not know how a tadpole becomes a frog. Did you know that? It's only because of quantum physics, actually, that they have started to understand that there are magical things going on in the electrons of the tadpole, which allows it to become a frog. And they still don't understand what it is. Heka. Magic. So, as I mentioned earlier, initiation requires a death. That's the only way that it's a real initiation, is there is death involved. So, it is the death of the old self, an old way of being, an old identity, or the ego. We could call it many things. And it is also preparation for death while we are fully alive. That is crucial. I'm going to go into that more in depth at a later time. But that is a crucial piece that has been widely forgotten in the majority of at least the Western world. This importance and preparation of death while being fully alive. This moment right here. This is it. This is all there is. The room that you're in right now, that's it. This is it. This is all there is. Right here. There is nothing more important than this moment right here. And the preparation for death while we are right here, it reminds us of that. And it brings to the very forefront, actually, what is the priority? What is actually the most important thing in this moment, which is the most important moment for me, right here, right now? It is actually quite arrogant to think, I'll do that tomorrow. Every breath is a gift. We have no idea when our last breath will be. We have no idea. So if something is worth doing, then it is worth doing right now, because this is all there is. And initiation reminds us of that. It brings us closer to that deep self within, the enduring self that is aware and present in that truth always, knowing that there is no moment to take advantage of, because this life is a gift. And initiation, at least in the way that I will be holding it in this mystery school, it is a rehearsal and a training of your consciousness to be able to live beyond this physical realm right now, and simultaneously and paradoxically, to live more fully and more deeply and in a more grounded way in this physical realm right here and now. That is how you know, and that is how you distinguish between true, authentic inner work, true initiation, and not some, I don't know, new age glamorization of whatever is being spun in the new age media world. That's how you know the difference. That you live both beyond the physical and more deeply present in the physical, paradoxically at the same time. Both are happening. That is what the type of initiation that I am going to be working through with you, and the change in your consciousness that will also take place. That's what's going to happen. And how to say, it is also preparation. I am very big on preparation. It is also preparation. I just want to check in. Is it okay to share this right now? Okay. It is also preparation for the process that we are in as a collective species, this ascension process, this evolution process, this awakening process. And we are going to be preparing your light bodies, your electric bodies, your rainbow bodies, many names. We're going to be preparing them, reassembling them, remembering them. Like how Osiris was remembered back into wholeness after being dismembered. We are going to be remembering together. And that means that there are going to be some practices and very significant training of consciousness, of your mental state, and opening and training of your heart center in order to allow this to happen. And in order for me to do my job the right way, so that you are fully prepared and that you feel fully grounded while doing this. This is a restoration of our original clothing, our light bodies, the original skin of perfection that we had and then forgot. So, I also want to remind you, or share with you, really, if you are unaware, why a mystery school right now. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I will not be leading journeys to Egypt or Peru or any other land, for that matter, other than the inner land this year. So I have many in-person events, but I will not be doing that because of the number of people and the depth that I feel compelled and inspired to go with you. Means that I'm not going to be leading a group to Egypt. And that land is calling me. I do wish to be there. But it is more important for me to bring Egypt to you. That is my job at this time in this year. And as the myth that you heard explains, Set, the dark brother of Osiris, the lower self, the one who gets jealous and envious, who creates chaos, that one that we all have, he is alive and well in this world and running much of the collective story at this time. Much of the collective story is being dominated by Set and this energy of chaos and disorder. Now, the beauty is that chaos always precedes order. So we have that going for us. And that means that this time is a very potent time, when the outer world is in its most chaotic. We have the opportunity to become the most orderly, to restore and remember this divine king, this queen, this ruler within us. Remember it and become it. That is what we have the opportunity to do. And so, while there is also a loss, a complete lack and loss of initiatory sequences in our world, true initiatory sequences, it is time for me to bring this forward, because there is also a deep, deep longing to remember. And I know that some of you feel this maybe every day. And if you really touch in, there is this feeling of just, of needing the thing that is deep, of finally feeling like you can put your mouth into something juicy and fulfilling. Not the superficial anymore. Something that is real. That is what I want to offer. And without a grounded container, without a true initiatory sequence held in a grounded container, that spiritual longing for something more easily turns into just a spectacle, a superficial spectacle. There are worship tendencies that can happen, and or fantasies that bring people out of their grounded, embodied state of being, that can come from this spiritual longing not being quenched by anything real. And so that is what this container is. It is a genuine initiatory sequence that, again, I have held this container in Egypt for approximately 100 people at one time. And that was a lot. And those of you who are with me, I know you feel that too. It was a lot. And so this time, again, if you are choosing to be here, that means that you are choosing self-accountability, self-responsibility, honesty with yourself, because there is no one else to hold you accountable. I will be with you. Whether you want me in your dream space or not, I probably will be there. If you accept me as a guide in this mystery school, I'm probably going to come check on you. But only you can truly hold yourself accountable. No one else can. Not even God can hold you accountable. It is your free will choice to do that. So, since we are in this time of chaos and death on this planet, that means that we are also in a time of renewal and rebirth, and have a tremendous opportunity for for the new to come around. Even, I know, while the world burns around us, I know. Even then, the temple walls always hold, always. The flames of chaos cannot touch these temple walls. So, we are going to practice how to maintain cosmic order in society by having this cosmic order practiced and restored within us, to then be in the world, but not be of the world, to not be reflecting this chaos, this greed, this consumption, this sickness, to be well in ourselves, to remember that all is well with our soul and connected to that sacred energy always. To become a bridge between the human world and the divine world, to serve as a bridge. And to learn once again how to be stewards of our soul, of our inner realm, and then stewards of this earth. If our inner world is in chaos, if our inner world is not touched and the soil in there not lovingly turned with our hands, then we cannot turn the soil in this earth and grow something new, whether it be a rose, a fruit tree, or a new earth. We cannot do it without turning the soil of our inner world first. And that requires a composting, a letting go, and many deaths to fertilize that inner world. And guidance to bring structure, to bring order, to learn how to sow those seeds inside of us. And once you plant the seed knows what to do. It does not need any guidance. But our hands need guidance to know how to plant. And that is the very sacred role and the very humble role that I would like to be for you. With the help of many others, certainly not alone. And so that brings me to what the ancient teachings are, and some modern, I suppose, teachings of what will actually be guiding this mystery school from a human level, more or less. My guides say more or less from a human level. So we will be using many philosophies. Shall I actually list them? Okay, not fully. We will be using many ancient philosophies from throughout time. There is wisdom and truth to be found in all ages and cultures, every single one, including things of what to do and not to do. There is wisdom to be found. And so we will be using many philosophies. We will be using different practices, both as a group, but also you alone, again, being accountable for yourself, for embodiment and to learn the sacred and reverent act of ritual again. That will be part of what we do. There will be ethical training. Yes, and I'm sure that if you've ever participated in another mystery school, maybe you have not heard those words. Ethical training. Any true mystery school endows the initiates with empowerment, both in a way that comes from devotional discipline and also that comes from extrasensory powers coming online again, ancient knowledge and teachings that bring a lot of energy into the body. That is a lot of power. If there is not an ethical code of conduct also given alongside these teachings, I certainly will not participate in it, and I will certainly not teach it. It's necessary. So along with ethical training, there will also be the training of perception, will, and action, which are part of that. We will get into all of that at a later time, but that is part of what we will be doing together. And then there are the reports and transmissions and activations that come from galactic beings, interdimensional beings, ancient beings, and also inner Earth and Earth herself, as well as other planetary bodies. But all of that will be part of this. So we are moving from the ground up, as it were. We will be grounded throughout this while also being quite realistic about the higher intelligences that are here and that are able to support us at this time. And ancient energies that require and deserve our utmost reverence and respect. So, with all of this, if it's not already clear to you, or just to really share my intention, what the outcome, if you will, a outcome from this work is ontological transformation, which is the transformation of every part of you to become a living reflection and a living source of divine order, so that there is true, authentic recognition of who you are, of what you are capable of, and therefore serving as a torch bearer and an inspiration for all those around you. No teacher idolization, no worshiping, no thinking that you are more special, that I am more special than any of you. No. To become an embodied reflection of divine order. That is our goal, if we want to say that. So this authentic inner work that's the best, I think the best collection of words that I could use to describe this, other than initiation. It is authentic inner work, and that reorganizes your nervous system, your physical nervous system, your behavior, your relationships, and the choices that you make, as well as there is a mental reorganization that takes place, as my guides like to call it, a mental reorganization within your thought patterns. So this, to make some distinctions here, this is authentic inner work, and not just what I will call romanticized esotericism, aka New Age spectacle, New Age drama, New Age media, fanaticism. That's not what this is. You're not going to get that with me. I think most of you know that, but I want to make that clear that that's not what this is. I cannot do that. It doesn't work for me. I don't know what else to say. I'm not interested in it. I'm not. If I wanted to do that, I would just go become an actress somewhere in Hollywood. That's what I would try to do. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the earth and seeing you with mud on your face. I'm interested in what's real. And that is what this is. So, authentic inner work does transform you. This other piece that I'm referring to, this romanticized esotericism, the spectacle that can come in this work, that it may fascinate you and spark a lot of curiosity or wonder. It may stimulate your imagination. And it also tends to create some kind of identity. There is this identification with, I am that, or this person must be that, or this event must be that. We are walking in humble integrity on this path. That is the path that I choose to walk. And it means that we must be responsible, self-accountable, aware, and honest with ourselves while we are on this path. It is not glamorous. It doesn't matter how you may perceive me sitting here with you. It's not glamorous. Because that's not where strength and integrity comes from. It's Richard Rudd, the man who invented the gene keys. He says integrity has the word grit in it. It takes grit to be a person of integrity. That is true. And grit means you have dirt under your fingernails. That you're there working. That is what this is. It's not, I hope that this is not an overemphasis of this, but I just really want to make it clear for you. This is not going to be some fantasy-laden, we're going to go up in the ships together thing. That is not what I'm going to do with you. It's possible. My guides are wanting me to remind you, it is technically possible that could happen. But I am not promising anything like that. What I am promising is to show up in humble integrity and to be listening to how I am being guided and to be listening to you as the group. It is one of my deepest honors that because I am so aware of, I am so energetically aware, I really feel the way a group is moving. I'm able to move a group, to meet the group. And you, as an individual, you feel like I'm talking directly to you. And it's actually the group. It's a deep gift that I am extremely grateful for, that I get to have that. It has served me well with Montessori children and beyond. And that is what I am here to do. So with this authentic inner work, some distinctions of it are that it moves you to a deeper truth, to wisdom. Wisdom being that which is true always. As in, it is not only relevant to the day that you find yourself on. It's wisdom. There are truths that can be useful here and there, and on another day, you realize that's actually not true anymore. And that's okay. It can still be wisdom for another person at another time. But there is an aspect where this authentic inner work moves you toward truth. It moves you toward your own embodied wisdom. Even when it's uncomfortable. Let me make that clear. Because again, just to remind you, this mystery school is going to contain multiple initiatory sequences. And if we go back to the beginning, initiation essentially means death. So it's not necessarily going to be a comfortable thing. The ego will kick and scream. It will not be very happy for a little while. And then it will relent. It will surrender. Eventually, it will. And it will become a little smoother. There is a limitation or a reduction in ego inflation when it comes to real inner work. Because again, remember, we're down there in the dirt together. There's nobody looking pretty. So there's no need for ego inflation. That's not what this is about. In a lot of ways, authentic inner work, it makes you more ordinary, I would say. You stop seeking all of these ways to be special and different. You stop seeking it. And what's amazing is the more mundane you become, the more magic you experience in the mundane and in yourself. Because you stop looking everywhere and you stop kind of, peacocking to try to get someone to look at you and say what you are, which is special or different somehow. Because you become more humble and more grounded with authentic inner work. So that's why you become more ordinary. You're no longer above some mundane task, whatever it might be, or above some ordinary world thing. And I have been there, so I understand how that can happen and why that happens. But that's no longer where you are. It just becomes part of the mystery school of life. And you fully acknowledge it as such. And it becomes reverent and holy to you. The final piece that I want to say, thank you, about a distinction with authentic inner work is that it is a focus and a reorientation on how you live, not on what you know. It's on how you live. So, with this other piece that I'm kind of making a contrast with, this romanticized esotericism, New Age media spectacle, or fanaticism, whatever we want to call it, there tends to be an emphasis on this being chosen, or more advanced, or like awakened above other people. Like, if you're here, this is for you, kind of a thing. I'm not about that. And that's not what this is. On a very real way, you do have to be ready for this, as in you have to be comfortable with what comes from this experience, and again, to take responsibility for yourself. But it's not, and does that also mean that you're going to be paving the way for other people and therefore be a leader in that way? Yes, it does. It does mean that. But it's not because you're more special. And it's not because I am more special. It is simply the place of evolution that we are in at this time. And now, I'm going to take a 10-second pause, if you will excuse me, because in a mundane way, I need to plug my computer in before it dies. So just give me 10 seconds, please. There we go. Some of you may know that my power went out this last week and is still out. So I am in a different studio. So everything's a little bit rearranged right now. So thank you while I just fix that. So the other piece with this romanticized esotericism, it tends to create and also reinforce these spiritual identity costumes. Again, this over-identification with a certain group or way of being. And that's not necessarily the path to wholeness and integration. So we're working with a broader perspective. The other piece that tends to happen in those worlds, in this world of this romanticized esotericism, is there is a neglect of the mundane responsibilities of life, including the encouragement to remove oneself from those who you don't feel good around simply because they don't agree with your way of thinking. And again, just avoiding mundane tasks, mundane responsibilities, making things unrealistic. And again, it's such a minor, it's a very subtle distortion of the truth that unfortunately has led a lot of people astray. A lot of people. This idea of, oh, well, if you don't feel good at your job, then you should just leave. When that's not necessarily the best way to go about that. So, we're not going to avoid our mundane responsibilities. We're going to be fully involved with our mundane world, because becoming a master of the third dimension, the realm around us, is part of the reflection of how we are a master in our own inner world. True spiritual alignment and spiritual maturity can be seen in the world around a person, around you. If your world outside of you is orderly, is peaceful, is organized, that is a reflection of your own inner world. Now, before there's any inflaming that happens with getting upset about that, that is not a black and white, cut and dry thing. But in general, that is true. And I will get far more into that in detail when we're actually together in class. But that is just something to keep in mind. Because again, as this myth has taught us, Osiris is this divine order. When we have restored divine order within us, Divine order is around us. In our own world, it is expressed. And of course, ultimately, that brings divine order to the world at large, to the collective, which is ultimately why we are doing all of this. It is in service to others and to our beloved Earth. So, the emphasis here is on transformation, not knowledge. Self-knowledge, perhaps. Self-knowledge, which becomes self-empowerment, because knowledge is power. So in that way. But it is in the effort toward transformation. Not, and I'm sorry, I really am gonna let go of this jadedness that I feel, but just all of these really out there claims that are being made about things that people need to do in order to be on a certain timeline and have their plasma light bodies in a certain place. I don't like it. And so we are not emphasizing knowledge. We are emphasizing transformation here. The dirty work. That's what we're emphasizing. So a reliable sign for you to consider in your own life, in or out of this mystery school, a reliable sign of inner work taking place and transformation taking place within you is that your life becomes simpler. Like I said, more ordinary. And I would tell the people that came to Egypt all the time, I would tell them this all the time, the truth is not that exciting. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, but it's not dramatic. It's not dramatic. The ego wants drama. The ego wants drama. The ego wants stimulation. The soul is at peace. So that is, again, why there is this need. It is a need, if you are going to participate in this, of self-responsibility and accountability. And it doesn't have to be a harsh truth. I do that way too much. So don't do the harsh thing. Just be really gentle with yourself and really honestly reflect of, is there a part of me that really loves drama? Is there a part of me that is seeking some fantastical stimulation? And if the answer is yes, that really is okay. It is a phase. It's a phase in this process because it is just a symptom of that deep spiritual longing that I was talking about earlier. It's just a symptom of that, and it's really okay. It's okay that that's there. It's a child wanting candy and wanting to watch a movie, and it's okay. It's really okay. So we can give that child a little treat every now and again, but ultimately, if you're walking this path, you are here to restore rulership, divine order to your being. That takes responsibility and maturity. There's no other way to say that. And sometimes people, I'm so grateful I learned recently from a teacher why it seems like people struggle so much with responsibility. I think, again, that I'm joking, but that masochistic tendency. I think sometimes I'm overly responsible. Double Capricorn. Can't help it. But I love responsibility. I always have loved responsibility because it feels like a way of being trusted, entrusted with something. And I have been entrusted with a divine spark from God. Oh my. Wow. I have been entrusted with a divine flame from the Creator. Of course, I will want to take responsibility for my actions and for my own transformation to grow closer and to become more like the Creator. I have no problem with that. I am humble enough to sit on the ground and say, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. I didn't realize that before. I'm humble enough to sit on my knees and say, please, God, teach me all that you know. And that comes from letting go of the ego, the one who thinks it knows. It comes from letting go of the need to know. This idea of having some kind of control in your life. We don't have control. We have control over our inner world and the order that we create within. And that order, I'll give you a little galactic piece here. That order, it changes the fractal pattern that you are, that you emit. And your fractal pattern of order meets the fractal pattern that is life. Everything around you right now is an expression of God. Everything, inanimate or otherwise, it's all God. All of it. It is all alive. It is all imbued with the consciousness of creation. So your fractal pattern meets and has a relationship with the fractal pattern of life that is all around you. That meeting creates an interference pattern that ultimately becomes the experience that you are in that moment. That's the poetic expression of what is happening in the quantum field between your energy body and the energy body of life all around you. That's what it is. And the more that you express the beauty within you, and the more that you choose to see the beauty all around you, the more that it is enhanced and life becomes more and more beautiful, and it nourishes you in the deepest way. There's no more of that unfulfilled longing. You are nourished by the moment. You are fed spiritually, energetically, emotionally by what is right in front of you. And there is nothing that satisfies that hunger. There is nothing that quenches that thirst more than the recognition and the remembrance of God in every moment, in every breath. The gift of life in every breath. So in this process, we are letting go of the part of us that is jealous, the dark brother that wants to take, that does not see life, that wants to create chaos, that wants to separate itself from order. We let that part go by becoming aware of it, by loving it into wholeness, and by turning our inner soil again and again with fresh seeds, with fresh compost that serves as fertilizer for this divine order to grow within us. So throughout this process, as well as any other place that you may be receiving wisdom or guidance from, I want to offer you just a helpful litmus test, really. And that is to ask yourself, is this making me more capable, growing my capacity to be more loving, growing my capacity for work, for relating, and telling the truth? If the answer is yes, then that is probably a good place and a good source to continue to return to, knowing that you are doing and experiencing real transformation and supporting real transformation to take place within yourself. If the answer is no to those questions, if it is not making you more loving, if you are not more joyful going to work, if it is not easier for you to relate to others, or if it's not easier for you to tell the truth or to see truth, then it is likely more performance or fantasy or escapism. And just to say again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. There's not. It's just not what's going to support real transformation in the long run. It can be a phase of a transformative process in whole, but it is not what will ultimately lead to transformation. Okay, so who is this mystery school for? I feel like it has been made mostly clear with what I've said, that you have to be in a certain place within you to want to do this. And that is also why I use the term advanced. It is part of the reason why when I am holding or leading a sacred retreat somewhere, it is not open to the public. It is open to the public, but what I'm saying is it's not just like a first come, first serve basis. And many people tried to talk me out of that. You have to apply to be accepted to come on a sacred journey, because I know that it's not for everyone. I know that on a human level and on an energetic level. The container is meant to be created with a specific constellation of energies. So again, this container, this allows you the pacing and the safety of being in your own home and living in your own mystery school of life while being guided by me and many other higher intelligences and participating in a group where you will have opportunities to engage with each other, certainly through the circle community, but also when we are all together. You will have the opportunity to engage at different points and to experience different practices. But this is not a place to seek healing. I just want to be very clear about that. This is a container that is sacred, that healing and transformation will occur inside of. But it is not a place for you to seek healing from. And I'm just going to be very honest about that. That's not what this is for. And that is and can be challenging for people to accept that, which is why I'm saying this is not for everyone. You do have to be in a place where you are able to hold yourself and simultaneously know when you need to get support from someone else, whether they're in this mystery school or not. That is the truth. Many people find it very harsh when I say things like that. But that is the truth. You must be able to hold both of those perspectives, knowing when and how to hold yourself, and also when and how to ask for help from another. Recognizing that help does not mean that they're going to save you. They're not going to make it all okay. They're there just to offer you a space to express. This mystery school and the classes and the sessions that we will be having together, that's not what this place is. Again, just to be very clear here, it's not a place to like dump and express. That won't be happening. And it's because we don't have the capacity to safely hold that in this space. Which means it is a support for you to grow more interdependence and also self-sufficiency, to be seeking that outside of this space. So if you are feeling like you're ready and open to redefine your relationship to power so that it's a self-empowerment, which means you're also having self-responsibility. If you feel like you're in a place to do that, then and you are aligned with everything else that I've said, or at least mostly everything else that I've said, then this mystery school is probably a good place for you. And it's okay if some of what I've said hasn't landed or doesn't make sense right now, or maybe that you hold a differing perspective on. That's also okay. If your heart, though, feels open, then I very much welcome you here. And a reminder that I am walking this path beside you in the dark, in the beautiful, mysterious unknown, right alongside you, meeting and responding to life right alongside you. And while we are walking this path together, we are going to have multiple sessions per month and different experiences that will take place within those sessions to support us. So, to be very truthful, it is difficult, as in almost impossible, to know if the sessions that I will be holding with you will be 90 minutes long or if they will be 120 minutes long, as in an hour and a half or 2 hours. So I'm going to just say, I encourage you to just plan to be with me for 2 hours, because there is much that I wish to cover without going too quickly. And also, if I don't cover enough at one time, then it leaves your mind trying to fill in the blanks, which is not necessarily helpful. So this tightrope that I am walking with this mystery school does necessitate somewhat longer meeting times with me. There of course could be times when maybe it will only be an hour. Maybe it will be even less than that. If my guides decide that they want to bring through some kind of activation, maybe we will only be together for 45 minutes or an hour, and then you will need time to integrate after that. That's possible. But when I am teaching and channeling for you, which means I'm open-eyed channel teaching, because that's what I am meant to be doing now. When I'm doing that, I really cannot guarantee the amount of time that it will be. So I understand if you have, of course, responsibilities in this mundane 3D world to attend to. And if you have to leave early, that is perfectly fine. When we have sessions, the recording will always be available. But just know that it's going to be approximately 90 to 120 minutes. I can't say for sure how long, but around there. We will, of course, have the opening monthly meditation. That is how we will start the month. And that is a meditation for anyone, whether they are in actually part of this mystery school or not. But that meditation is going to be a way of orienting all of us to what is happening, which is already what it does. But my guides made it very clear to express that to you. that the opening meditation that I do every month at the very beginning of the month, it's an orientation for our group, very specifically. So again, don't really know what that means, but that's just a piece to share with you. The second weekend of the month, so that's the first weekend. The second weekend of the month is when we will be meeting for actually the Living Mystery School session. And that will contain many things. It depends on the month. There is a lot of teaching. There's a lot of foundational work that I must lay in order for us to be walking on the same path and speaking the same language. So that will be happening during the second week of the month. And it totally depends on the month of what we're doing. The last weekend of the month, so we skip a weekend, and then there's the last weekend of the month. That is going to be when we have our co-activation circle. So that is a space that can include group practices, integration practices, Q&A. It could involve a question and answer session, and more. It could involve group sharing also. So that is a space that is more oriented toward you all engaging in certain ways rather than primarily me teaching / channeling. That's kind of the distinction there. I hope that's clear. So the reason why that's being held on the last weekend is to give you around a week and a half, to 2 weeks or so after the session with me and whoever else may come through, to give you time to be integrating and practicing the things that come through. And then we will have this opportunity to kind of talk about it, share, integrate, ask questions, whatever else may come during that. That's a little bit of what it's looking like. Again, I do appreciate those of you who really love to have a set, this is what we're doing, which, by the way, I am that way. I appreciate you just being flexible and trusting because, again, this is a living spiral curriculum that is unfolding in real time in response to the group and to the energies. So that's why I'm giving you this, we're kind of doing this-ish thing. And it's not a definite this is what we're doing because I need to leave space for what may arise. So just thank you for your trust and flexibility with that. But that's how that's going to look. So there are a little bit of the logistics. And I'm going to take a breath, and I invite you to take a breath too. Inhaling deeply and exhaling. The final piece of today is the sacred covenant that I would like to read to you or explain to you more or less. And I'll read kind of the points that are involved in it and then explain a little for each point. And a covenant is a sacred spiritual binding agreement in a way. The reason why this is important, and this occurred to me, we, of course, if you have been or are a member of our circle community, I wrote community guidelines for the creation of a safe container. And so we have those community guidelines for the circle. That is a little bit what this is, but this is different because it's a covenant. The reason why it's a covenant is because, again, what we are entering into is a far more intimate experience of being in a quantum temple together. That is what you are choosing to enter into in this mystery school. That's how this is being held by many beings, by the way. An actual energetic quantum temple is what I am inviting you into. So there must be all of this understanding that I have explained around responsibility, around what authentic inner work looks like, and not some romanticized fantasies that are happening. And the covenant is a way for all of us here, including myself, to feel safe and to have conscious consent around what we are agreeing to. You as an initiate and me as a guide, what we are each agreeing to when we show up here, how we participate here, etc. So, our covenant and kind of these pieces that I want to make clear for you. Before beginning any initiatory work or archetypal work, as we will be working with in this school, we have to know what we're doing and what we're not doing, and what this space is for and what the space is not for, who this space is for and who this space is not for. Otherwise, there can't be conscious consent. So that's why I've gone through what I've gone through. And this final piece is to, again, be as clear as I possibly can with it. So, this space, the first piece here is what this space is. This is a prepared field. A prepared field in the quantum for you. It is a learning and contemplative space and a space of practice that is focused on a refinement of perception, a refinement of meaning making, and of ethical orientation in this changing world. So we are going to use philosophy, Kemetic or Kem, as in pre-dynastic Egypt, Kemetic mystery school practices and initiatory sequences, as well as real-world events, current real-world events that are happening, as both lenses and then initiatory sequences to understand what we are going through as individuals and as a collective. Without taking anything on as a belief, there's no need to believe in anything here. It is not to create any sort of spiritual hierarchy. Again, it is to give a refinement of perception, of will, and of action through these practices and initiatory sequences. This is a school of seeing, not forgetting answers. I'm not going to do that. My children got upset with me in school too when I was teaching them. I'm not here to give you the answers. I'm here to guide you to finding your own answer, to being able to see the truth, not tell you what the truth is. So what this space is not going to be, this is not therapy. This is not crisis support. This is not a healing container, as I mentioned, although healing could take place within it. This is not a place to replace professional mental health care or any other type of health care that you may be seeking. And it is not designed to process trauma in real time. Strong emotions may arise, they likely will, but we are going to prioritize grounding and integration and choice over catharsis and release in this space together. It's important to know this so that you are, again, prepared to hold yourself and also seek help outside of this place if that's what you need, and not seek counseling from me or anyone else who is here. Because just as you are trusting me, this is a huge act of trust also on my part. Like I said, this is not opening a mystery school in the quantum field is already huge. And doing that for hundreds of people, I don't know anyone who's done that, because that's taking on a lot. So that's why I need to make this very explicit. And I'm asking you for you to show up in this way and to not show up in that way. Not in this space. Because if it turns into that, then we're missing the mark. We're missing it. So while that may be something that you need, and if you come to that realization, then please go seek that guidance outside of the space. I cannot do that for you in this place. So with that, just to be very clear about what my role is, I've kind of mentioned it a bit in terms of your guide, but I want to be clear, and I tell the people who come with me, again, around the world, I tell them this. My role is not to diagnose your experience, to tell you what your guides are saying, to tell you what parallel life pattern is coming up for you. Not in this instance. That's actually not my role here. Those are things that I can do and have done, and it's not my job in this case. Because again, you are now moving outside of the philosopher. You're moving away from that if you're choosing to participate in this. You're now choosing to move into the level where you become the practitioner yourself. With guidance and help, but I'm not the one to tell you who you are becoming. And thank God. That's your sovereign choice. And it is so much more beautiful than anything I or anyone else could dream up. Your experience and your definition of who you are becoming is the most beautiful creation of all. And I will not take that away from you or anyone else. And I don't want your power. I don't want it. I want you to have your power. I want you to stand with your own power and to kneel with your own power when that's what's called for. But only you know that. My role here is to hold the structure, both quantum energetically and also in a practical sort of way. That's my role. Any good Montessori teacher knows when the environment is prepared, as in the classroom, is prepared appropriately, and there are no more obstacles, the children teach themselves. And believe you me, I am a Montessori child and I have taught Montessori children, and that is the case. And that is what we have the opportunity to do here. It is, of course, far more complex because of the way that we are working, and what we are working with is not simple arithmetic. It is far more complex, but that is still the truth. And so my role is to hold this prepared field for you. I am also here to offer lenses, different ways of perceiving, to refine your own perception, and then to, of course, model discernment within some of the practices that we are going to move through, and to model the remembrance of the beauty of this great mystery that we find ourselves in. I will remind you of this as often as I need, that you are the primary authority in your inner life and in the evolution of your soul. So seek counsel and guidance from your heart. And if the answer is not clear, then give it time. Give it space. Clarity is not a goal. I know, the Western mind thinks it is. But clarity is not the goal. And it's not a point of arrival. Just like balance, balance is not somewhere that you arrive at. It's a moving target. You are rebalancing yourself in every moment. And you are meeting the moment with absolute awareness and consciousness, which is clarity. Conscious awareness of the great unknown right before you. That's clarity. So, my role is to help you surrender and to encourage you to surrender into this mystery and the unknown. And that is the process that we are orienting ourselves to. As I mentioned, this is the fourth piece that I want to cover here in this covenant. As I mentioned earlier, one of the pieces that we will be working with are archetypes. And now, everyone has, there are multiple definitions for an archetype. And so I want to be clear about that archetypes in this context, and from my perspective and experience, they are symbolic forces, yes. They are also energetic patterns and or universal templates, we could say. And they are states of consciousness, not singular identities. So that idea of people saying, I am the reincarnation of this person, that person, they are states of consciousness. Isis is a state of consciousness. And I think that many times, and we will explore this more perhaps if I am called, many times what we now consider an ascended master, such as Isis or Buddha or Jeshua, they are an ascended master because their consciousness has become available and a universal template that anyone can tune into. That's what makes them an ascended master. Which means we all have access to these templates, to these states of consciousness. We all have access to it equally. So we're not going to be doing the identification thing. We're not playing that game in this mystery school. We are doing practices to enter into states of consciousness. Ego likes to identify. So that game, that can be played somewhere else outside of this school. Now, if you do find yourself at any point doing that, which, by the way, totally normal, and it's okay, if you find yourself identifying like that, really saying to yourself, I must have been this person in a past life, it's a good time, I think, to maybe step back for a little while and just reground into your divine spark. Because this here, it's enough. Exactly as you are. You don't have to be anybody else than what you are right here and right now. It is enough. So there is no need to identify with anything outside of you. You are one of many faces of the divine, and you have the most beautiful face. Because that is what the divine creates. Absolute beauty. And as I also mentioned, the fifth piece that I want to come to and align with you on in this covenant is about this piece of discomfort and pace and the choice that you have therein. Initiatory learning generally involves discomfort in some way. In a lot of cases, it is physical discomfort, but it's also mental and emotional discomfort. And that tends to create and surface a lot of questions about the self and about reality. So that is also part of the reason why back in the day, these mystery schools were not for everyone. It is something where you were chosen because of your character and your will that you exhibited already in your daily life. You were then invited. Do you want to participate in this? And so there is a stability that must come from within you. And stability comes from trusting the self and being grounded in your moment-to-moment experience that must be present for you to healthily and safely move through this mystery school. Because again, I am not here to just tell you stories and give you a bunch of knowledge. That's not what this is. This is embodied practices that can bring up a lot of stuff. And so you have to have the awareness, the control, the responsibility, and the maturity to give yourself what you need, whether that's kind of having a choice of disengaging for a little while from this work, seeking help if something really arises in you that you're saying, I actually need to go talk about this, okay? Whatever that might be. And sometimes it might mean in a certain session that you're just listening rather than full on engaging and participating, that you're kind of just taking it in, knowing that the replay and the recording will be available. So a keen sense of awareness, particularly given that, again, outside the world may be burning, but these temple walls are sacred. It is a sanctuary to come within this space. And there is a turning of the soil. There is a changing of the guard that comes to recreate and reestablish the sacred within. And sometimes those guards don't like to leave very easily. They want to stay there and demand that no one go through. Those are old egoic identities that are trying to protect you, and they are trying to protect themselves. But we are in a different place in this world. So recognizing when you need to pause is important throughout this work. Then there is the piece regarding responsibility and integration of everything that we're going to be practicing and learning here. So, as I like to say, responsibility follows awareness. When you become aware of something, now you have this responsibility. What are you going to do with that knowledge? So, although that is true, insight does not obligate action, because you may not be ready for it at that time. I have really pushed myself in my lifetime because of that truth. Responsibility follows awareness. I have really pushed myself. And then finally, I learned the other half of it, that insight does not obligate action. You can become aware of something, and the awareness can be the process for a little while. And it doesn't mean that you become, I will say, lackadaisical, lazy about it. You stay truly, consciously, contemplatively aware of it. Truly. And sometimes that awareness, that is the percolation that is needed for that little thing on the burner, the bubbles. It percolates, and then all of a sudden, it's like the egg timer goes off, and you realize there it is. That's why I let that sit for so long, because now it all makes sense to me. Rather than trying to force something to come through or force yourself to change, to transform. Because that forcing, it's not going to work. It's not a healthy thing. It actually ends up holding you back, is really what happens. You might get somewhere, but ultimately you're working against yourself. So please allow yourself grace and ease and slowness through this process. That there is a reason why you signed up for a year. And just as a hint, it's probably going to be a little bit longer than a year, technically speaking, which I'll come back to you about that later. But there is a reason why this is a year-long process. And actually, it was only because people came and asked, can I please pay for this monthly? That we said, okay, I guess we need to do that. Because it's a little bit of, to leave you hanging with only 3 months of something could be a little disorienting. So please allow yourself slowness. In traditional mystery schools, this is years to decades of commitment. And I am pacing us to respond within approximately a year to see where can we get in a year. It's an experiment that we're all in together. So please give yourself grace throughout this process. Integration, of course, it happens slowly through awareness and through contemplation and reflection within your daily life, within your relationships, how you're relating, and simply with practice. With practice, you're able to integrate. And here, what we value is humility, ethical behavior for self and others sharing this space, and self-responsibility over any kind of spiritual performance. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to say, Isis started speaking through me and she said that we need to do this and that. That's not what we're here for. If you receive any type of guidance, that is for you. That is for you. So please be gentle with yourself. And again, we're going to be practicing ethics together. We will be talking about what I really mean by that and how that relates to being in a mystery school. So, alongside the magic that people learned in mystery schools and that you have the opportunity to open to in this mystery school, alongside that magic, you are also going to be refining your awareness and your own ethical practices. That must be part of this in order for us to meet what the world needs right now. The world, it does not need more people who want to flaunt their so-called individualistic, unique, special power in any form, in any form that could show up in. That's not what the world needs right now. The world needs humble, grounded stewards who are also aware of the quantum field, the fifth dimension, the invisible realms. The foot in the 3D, the foot in the 5D. The mythic eyes that see all. The wisdom and strength of a dragon and a master in human form. That is what this world needs. And so that is what we are all practicing and going to be learning about together here. So if those pieces that I have mentioned, if you feel in agreement to that, if that feels aligned for you at this time, then I fully invite you to step into this crucible, this field this sanctuary, this quantum temple and mystery school of learning together. And if that's not a place where you are right now, then that's really important for you to know, because that is your discernment telling you that it might not be time, and that's okay. So, that is really the full piece to go over. And my goodness, it is 11. It's been 2 hours. So that's everything that I absolutely had to cover in this joining today. Before we go, is that something I should open? Okay. I am going to just offer to take maybe 3 to 5 questions about anything that I've mentioned, whether it is regarding the covenant, logistics, perhaps, love and logistics, if there are questions. Because the next time that we are going to meet will be the first weekend of March, and that will be the meditation that we open with. The following weekend, we will have our very first mystery school session, and we're going to go over a lot. And this is a school, right? It's a living mystery school. So just remembering that means that you are going to need time both inside and outside of us meeting together to really get the most out of what is being offered to you. I cannot say how much time you may need. I don't know. And I'm going to set up a framework for you to be living your life by to support this whole process. So I'm just to say, I'm a Montessori teacher, so I will not be asking for homework. That won't be happening. It's not that type of work. But there are things that will be going on that you will want to give your time to outside of this. So just know that. And so the second weekend of March is when we will meet as a group. And then the final weekend, we will meet again for our co-activation circle. So if there are any questions that I can possibly answer here, let me look. Beautiful. That is beautiful. There is a question from Christoph about if someone who is open to doing energy healing could do that with the group. I am not going to say yes or no right now because I don't know. I am going to respond to the field, so I will get back to you. I'll let you know if there's a time. And really, thank you for asking. I have personally experienced your energy, and it's beautiful. So thank you. I will keep that in mind, that you are open to offering that. Will the meditation be uploaded in time? Yes, good question from Cheryl about the meditation being uploaded in case you cannot attend. All of the recordings are uploaded within a maximum of 48 hours. So they will always be uploaded before we meet again the next time. Yes, thank you for asking. Yes, that is true, that we will be meeting before the full moon. Yeah. Are there any? Thank you. This question, are there any PDFs or handouts for notes? So there are going to be resources that are uploaded to the mystery school. So this is held on the website, this mystery school, and all of our recordings and sessions, except for the monthly meditations, are going to be contained within a course on the website. The reason why it's being contained there is for organizational purposes and because I am able to upload scans of documents that I will sometimes ask you to read before class, and or that may be discussed during class or in small group sessions, just depending. So yes, there will be those things. It is not necessary to print them. That is entirely up to you. I'm making this as resource free as possible in terms of not needing anything other than a computer. So you don't have to print them, but you can if you want to. So, and there will ultimately end up being a full resource section of citations for all of the resources that we use, because that's just the proper way to do it. So that will also be available in the Initiates Library. Let me see if there's any other question. The class will be on Sundays, yes, and there will be certain practices that we are doing every month. That's a beautiful question. Talking about what we're doing in the school. That is, again, that's a piece of discernment for you to determine who you say what to. Wisdom is knowing when to say what. That's the ultimate piece. Because truth is not always helpful. Sometimes truth is harmful. But true wisdom is knowing when truth does not do harm and when to say what to whom. So that is a piece of discernment that I hope you will learn in our time together. A beautiful question from John about if you're late and you feel like you want to catch up with the group. Yes. If you feel like if for example you missed 2 classes or something and you want to be more caught up with the group and know what's going on, that is why there is the Initiate Sanctuary within the Circle community, which is that place, the discussion board that is just for you who are in this mystery school. That is the purpose of that, is so that you can go there as a group and create all of the different discussions within that place, within that forum, to talk about whatever you need to, in terms of like trying to catch up and learn, what did we just go over? I had this question. Did anybody else understand what was happening here? That is the place to talk about that. So thank you for that question. And yes, the gatherings will be at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sundays. Yes. Again, trying to make this as available as possible for as many people. All right. Beautiful. Oh, one last question. Yes. Yes, the meditation that I am referring to is the one that is open to all people in the circle, that I hold at the beginning of every month. Yes. So thank you for your beautiful questions and also your beautiful words. I will read this full chat, but I can certainly feel the love. And I am really, truly, just to close, extremely grateful, deeply honored, very excited. Last night, I could barely sleep, and I was laying in bed thinking, gosh, why am I so awake? And it's because I'm so excited because school is my favorite thing. And I am so excited to be here with you, to be walking this path with you, to be meeting life with you in this way. This is the ultimate time for this mystery school to come through. And it is a deep honor and a significant place of joy in my life that I get to be in this community with you and to serve in this way, to share my fire, even when it's too hot sometimes for people, I know, but to share my fire so that there can be more fires in this world. There can be more light and less people who are cold and going hungry. So, I am going to see you again the first weekend of March for our meditation. And then we are going to dive in the second weekend. But the first weekend is an orientation, and I have a feeling I already know what's happening. I won't say because, of course, I could be mistaken, but being a psychic, I tend to know, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will change. But it will be a very deep integration and opening portal that first weekend of March. So I very much look forward to that. And until I see you again, please remember your magic today. Be with you all very soon. Bye for now.